Hi everyone, welcome to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans, thanks for joining us. We have a really special show for you at the special time of year. I kind of always start out that way, don't I, Greg? But hey, it is baseball and spring. Baseball. It's like a religion for a lot of people. In fact, so much so, there was white smoke coming from the Cardinals dugout. They just called up Francis Pope from AA Argentina. So he's in their rotation. No, really, people get really excited about the boys of summer. Heck, even Snooki has her 40-man roster set. So she's good to go. Hey, Cleveland Browns fans, did you hear this? There's going to be a movie made in the near future about the Browns. It's called Draft Day, and it will star Kevin Costner. And he plays a general manager of a struggling NFL team, and he tries to resurrect them, so that's appropriate. And me being a Browns fan, I'm excited about this, because this could very well be the best screenplay they've had in years. Resurrect might not be enough for Browns fans. Maybe resurrection. You hear Browns fans, Jesus, another field goal? Come on. Football and film. You may have heard Al Pacino will play the role of Joe Paterno in a movie about the late Penn State coach. Although it was no gimme for Pacino. The director said, okay, face the camera. All right, turn to your right. Now turn to your left. Now turn your back. Al, you nailed it. That's what we're looking for. You got the part. Can we move the cue cards in a little bit? Can I see one? Small budget here. You know, Greg, we're going to have a writer's staff meeting. What's that? Oh, I am the writer's staff. Oh, that's right. Okay. Let's see what else is going on. Recent controversy over in Europe about horse meat in the food at Burger King, you may have heard, and other restaurants now. And that's unsettling for a lot of us. But over there, I don't know. 4 out of 5 people said it was no big deal in a Gallup poll survey they conducted. Really, though, that's really unique. You can go in and you could go with the supersize and or go with the superfecta. Hey, it's a super show for you. No horsing around. Well, maybe a little before we're done. As one of the area's top basketball coaches will join us next here on Loose Change. Stay with us. Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans, and I am fortunate to be joined by a gentleman who is very familiar in the local sports community, especially basketball. He is Poland boys basketball head coach Ken Grisdale. Ken, thanks so much for being on the program. And I've had the pleasure to get to know you over the last 8 years or so, covering your team, doing play-by-play. It's been a true positive experience for me, and to get to know you better. For those who aren't familiar about your background, tell us about your playing career as you came up through school and how you got into coaching and over to Poland.
Definitely. The strange thing with the Poland thing, I started out in Canfield, which is kind of a difficult situation, but it's worked out real well. I graduated Canfield High School in 1981. Mm-hmm. I played football and I played basketball at Canfield, and I went to the University of Akron on a football scholarship. Spent 5 years there, and during my 5th year at Akron, it was my redshirt year, and I decided that I needed to get on with life a little bit, and I had to get my degree done. So I graduated, and I student taught at Mogador High School, and then graduated. And while I was doing that, I had decided to start coaching, and I had coached football for a year with John Cravens at Canfield, and with John Cullen at Canfield. I coached basketball, and John's really the one that really started me in really getting into basketball, because I've always loved football, and I always thought I'd be a football coach for forever. Mm-hmm. But with John Cullen, it was amazing, and it just got me so excited about basketball. And then I was hoping that year I would get a teaching job at Canfield, but nothing opened. And right early part of the summer, I'm working at the Canfield Fairgrounds, and I saw Poland opening, and I called, and Brian Wolf had been my 8th grade basketball coach at Canfield, and I said, Mr. Wolf, I see that you have an opening. He goes, yeah, come on over tomorrow and we'll talk a little bit about it. And came over and sat down with superintendent, and the rest is kind of history. 27 years here in Poland.
Wow. Obviously, Coach Cullen, very influential on you. talk about that a little bit, and maybe some other people that had an impact on you.
Yeah, there's so many, but John Cullen was the start. And when you play sports, you don't always understand all the things that go in. You just play and you show up and you learn and you do it. But to see what that man knew. I mean, still, I'll sit down with him. He'll start talking basketball, and I'm like, "What are you talking about? I don't understand." I mean, he's like the weird professor. I mean, he knows it all, and it just got me excited about the game and excited about teaching as well. And then when I got to Poland, I got to spend time with Tony Archibald. Tony was one of the best coaches that this area has ever had, and I got to spend a couple years with him before he died of pancreatic cancer. And between John and Tony, got a really good base in basketball. Then I've had the opportunity to work with some really good coaches. Tom Fender's an amazing coach, and I got to spend a lot of time with him. Brian Nord was a defensive assistant for a while, did a really nice job, and and right now a lot of my coaches are my former players, which is a really neat experience to see them from player to coach, and it's been an interesting ride.
What is your coaching philosophy?
Philosophically, I want to try to put the kids in the best situation to win, and if that means pressing and playing full speed, we'll do that. If it means you've got to slow down and make it a 20-21 game, we'll do that. I just philosophically, I want the kids to have fun. I want them to learn how to work hard, and I want to give them, and I want to put them in a position to be able to have a chance to succeed.
Well, you've had success, that's for sure. It's hard to believe, though. 20 years you've been the head coach at Poland. What a ride it has been for you, and still more to come. Talk about that.
Yeah, and I go back even beyond the 20. I had 7 years of football and with Reed Lamport, and Reed was great to coach with, and and I coached track for 5 years as a head track coach for a while. So I've tried it all, but the 20 years that I've had with basketball have been amazing. I hope to go a few more. I mean, I'd like to go as long as they'll let me, but it looks as though teaching-wise I'll probably retire in 2 years, and you never know what will happen at that point in time. But I'm really excited. I honestly have had more fun this year than I've had any, but I say that at the end of every year I don't feel like, why am I doing this? Every year is a challenge. You got a bunch of pieces of the puzzle laying there, and how are you going to pick them up and put them together and try to have success. And I'm excited the next 2 to 3 years, we've got some really good pieces coming again.
You mentioned the kids, of course, and that's what it's about at this level, isn't it? And again, you do this, you work, and you play to win, but there's so much more involved with, we're just working with young people, and you've had some pretty good ones to work with.
It's just, we're so fortunate as educators. You go to school sometimes and people are complaining, but we've got the best job in the world. We always think we should be paid more than we are, but bottom line is I'd probably do it for free. Probably shouldn't say that on TV, but I love it. I love doing it, and and I honestly love the teaching in the classroom more than anything. Being around young people who are just starting off to their adulthood, and learning about, I teach government, I teach economics, learning about a lot of life things, and then being around the kids athletically. I'm 50 now, but I feel like I'm 26, 27.
That's what I thought you were.
Yeah, well, I was hoping to, but no, it keeps you young, keeps you excited, and I don't know. I mean, I've often thought, what else could I be doing with my life? And I can't think of anything that I'd rather do.
You mentioned the classroom, of course, and I know student athlete really applies to the people and the young men that you've worked with. You've got some great kids out there. Talk about the importance of having that that strong classroom background.
Well, it makes it a lot easier to do the different things that we do. I mean, you've seen us. A lot of teams will start out, they'll be in one defense most of the time, and offensively they're going to do one or two sets and maybe run some motion. I mean, our kids, I looked at the end of the year at our play call sheet. We had close to 90 plays. When you look at, zone, man-to-man, out-of-bounds situations, press breakers. I mean, there's so many things. And because of their academic background, they come to us, ready to learn. And it's pretty easy to teach them the things we want to do.
You also have a strong support base from not only the school and I'm sure the administration, but the community as well. It's a great atmosphere to go over to your games. I love it.
There's a core of people that I can look up in the stands and they've been there for 20 years, and my family's there, and Traditionally, the student body's been really good. It's kind of weird of late. It's a big change that I've seen over the years that the kids are pulled in so many different directions. But when a big game comes, we know our kids are coming full force, and they really help us. But our administration too. I started with Brian Wolf. What an amazing person. Currently Kevin Snyder is our principal. Brian Banfield's our athletic director. And they're really, really good to work with. Myron Stallsmith, who is, a legend. He was awesome. Sure, and it's neat as a coach to have to deal with different types of people, and figure out how you can make it work. And, Stally was day and Brian's night, but man, did they both do a good job.
John Wooden said, it's not winning, it's the journey. There's a lot to that, isn't there?
Yeah, it's the marathon when it comes to basketball, but it is. It's like this year. If you just seen this team that we had this year in November, you just said they're gonna have trouble winning 4 or 5 games. And after our last scrimmage, we had 9 days to get ready for Liberty, and we kind of figured out where we wanted to go and how we're going to do it. And that part of the journey was really neat. And then we get halfway into the season, we played Canfield, and it was a tough loss for us. I think you were there, and we started out real well, and it was tight at halftime and pretty tight at the third quarter, and then they just pulled away. And we had to make some decisions on what are we going to do to make sure the next time we get in a tight game that we've got more scoring on the court. And we started to transform into another team. So, the journey's neat. From where we started to where we ended, this year was one of the most satisfying years that I can remember.
And surprisingly to me, just the second time in school history, you had 20 wins for the boys basketball program. That's really something.
We were close a couple times.
Yeah.
We were up 19-1 at one time with Eric Fender and Chad when Chad was a junior, and Springfield got us the last game of the season. But no, to get 20 regular season wins, I mean, the 2 additional games helped, but still, 20-2 is not too bad.
What made this group really click for you this year as they did?
I think the chemistry was really good. We had 6 seniors, and they weren't the spotlight players. They were the role players, and they were willing to accept, I'm not going to get this, all these minutes, or I'm not going to get all these shots, but, I'm going to have a role, and when I step out there, I'm going to do it for my teammates. And when you have seniors that are willing to sacrifice for the group and for the underclassmen, it really helped to make it successful.
Well, you've had certainly one of the most successful, if not the most successful, programs in the area over the last decade or more, and making those trips down to state really have to be special for you. Talk about that.
That's amazing. And I was just talking to Coach Kaiser from LeBray the other night at one of the All-Star games, and I told him before the game, and before they went down, enjoy it because it's an amazing experience, and to get to do it once is unbelievable. Yes. I've been fortunate to be able to do it 3 times, and you don't really appreciate it, I think, when it's happening. But once you step back and, like for him, I was so excited, for another person in the area to get a chance to see what it's like to accomplish what, he accomplished and what you do accomplish to get to Columbus. But, it's amazing. It's an awesome experience. Win or lose, and, we went down there and we did the best we possibly could. But just to walk out in there, St. John's, that the first time, we're playing LeBron and his boys, and there's 18,000 fans there, and it's something that you never forget.
It really is. And we talked about this on our radio show about how much we enjoy and love covering the football championships. But that basketball tournament down there is just such a special thing, and it's truly a unique experience. Even if you don't like basketball, it's so much fun.
Yeah. Well, I started going down with Coach Archibald. He loved it. And it was in Dayton the first couple of years that we went down, and he just loved it. And that kind of transformed into me. I didn't understand it the first time because there's you got 12 games going on. You're in for an hour and a half. You got to go stand outside for an hour. But it's such a great experience. And I've met a lot of good people. I have a good friend, Tom King, who's former coach at Hubbard, and I got to know him sitting in the bleachers, in St. John's, and our relationship is extended, and now he does a lot of skill work with our kids, but it's just awesome.
Ken Grisdale, head coach of the Poland boys basketball team, and we'll take a break and be back and talk more hoops and a little bit more with Ken. Stick around as we continue here on Loose Change.